So we're here with Jeff and Tim from Pacmule Belts. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for taking some time to talk to me. I was really interested when I first came across your product. We met through a mutual friend, and I really found it fascinating that the product was created from an internal source. It wasn't created by someone who didn't have any experience or references with your line of work. So this is a product by a fireman for other firefighters, or it can actually be applied to anyone else who would need a safety harness. But I found that very interesting that it's someone who's actually in the job, seeing a flaw somewhere in the process, or maybe a flaw within through some kind of experience, and then actually creating the product to address that. So one of the things I wanted to go through first is just individually, you can tell us a little bit about yourselves. Where'd you grow up, and then we'll get into your careers with the department.
Okay, go ahead. Grew up in the south suburbs.
Of Chicago?
Actually in Bridgeview.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess that's where. So we're
South
for our
West.
folks that aren't necessarily familiar with Chicago, Bridgeview is a south suburban suburb of Chicago. So
Yep.
right.
Was on the job 31 years. I'm retired now. But I work a side job in the trade show industry. And when I started on the job, there was quite a bit of manpower. 5-man truck and 4-man engine was the norm. As that started to dwindle, you had to do more and more things with less people. And I noticed guys working in high lifts or man lifts, whatever you want to call it, corner place with belts that they tied off to the man lift with. I thought about it'd be a neat idea if there was a way to do something like that with the availability of carrying tools. And got together with Tim and Dave and started looking at ideas and trying to figure things out. And that's basically where it started.
So you noticed basically how even in the public sector, just like they do in the private sector, they expect you to do more with less, right? And you had to adapt in order to.
Well, that's what kind of spawned the idea. You're trying to pull a hose line and you got tools, and it got to be a little bit much for one person.
Right.
And like I said, the manning wasn't what it used to be.
Right.
The whole thing was just to try to free up your hands. Carry
Right.
as much stuff as you could and free your hands up.
Right.
So, like I said, I came from the south side also, just, same area. I was on the job for 35 years. And one day Jeff come up to me and said, "Hey, I got an idea on something, let's take a look at it." And so we messed around with something a little bit, the whole thing was to free up your hands. Like I said, you're climbing up a ladder somewhere and you're carrying an axe, or you're shoving an axe between your belt and your body, and first thing it starts to slide around, and the whole process was just to free up your hands on the fire ground. You climb a ladder, the first thing you do when you slip, you're gonna let go of the ladder, and the guy below you is gonna get hit.
Right.
So we just come up with this idea and put this belt together to carry more tools on the job and just free up your hands and make it safer for you.
How did you guys come up with the first prototypes?
Well, we are a pretty couple sharp fellers.
You snatched the belt from
I
the side
snatched the
job.
belt from the side job. And then we made the arrangements and the tweaks and different things we wanted to do. And then from there, we had no idea how to put it together, so we took it to a shoemaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A cobbler.
Took it to a cobbler, and he put it together for us, and basically broke his machine and told us, "That's one.
Yeah, don't
Never
come
bring
back.
another one."
Oh man.
Yeah,
So that was the first
that was the very first one.
first prototype.
Yeah.
And so then how did you guys once you got it, who was the first one that actually put it on to test it out to see? Okay, well,
Well, we really didn't do anything with it because it really wasn't put together enough to,
No,
to
it
hold
was-
any tools. It was an idea.
okay.
So then we took the idea and I got on the phone and started calling all different types of manufacturers to see if they would try to put this thing together for us. And we had an agreement with one person, with one company, and they just kept dragging their feet. So I asked them to release it back to us. And they released it back to us. And then one day I was doing an inspection on
There
a
you
job, and I seen a harness hanging in a business I was at, and I looked at the label that was on it, and I seen the name of this company on there. So
here we go. So,
so I was in a business doing an inspection, and I seen a harness hanging there with a tag on it. So either I snatched the tag or I took the information off the tag, one or two, I don't remember. And I gave the company a call, talked to the owner of the company, and explained to him what I was doing. So I said, send it over. So I sent it over, and I waited about a month, and I didn't hear anything back. And I called them back, and I says, what's going on? I says, I sent you some information over, and this is what we're trying to do. And he said, well, I put it in my competitor file. I said, your competitor file? I says, I'm looking for somebody to make this thing for me. So then it all started from there. So I just finally got hooked up with them, and they're a fall protection company out of Pennsylvania.
okay.
And they manufacture nothing but fall protection equipment, so we're satisfied with that. And we went from there. They started making some stuff between the ideas between the two of us, back and forth, and we came across probably about maybe 3 or 4 different kind of prototypes till we tweak it to where we got close to what we wanted, and then we started from there.
Okay. So, I mean, how many? So, did you say you went through 2? You had to call. You called one, and they never did anything.
Oh no,
with
I
it.
called. I called numerous. I
Numerous.
was on the phone for a year, holding my daughter in one arm because she was only a couple of months old probably, and making
Right.
phone calls every day on the 2
Right.
days I was off, and trying to talk to people and try to get somebody to say yes, no, and most of them are all no all the time. And
Right.
until I found, like I say, just by accident one day on the job, and I
Right.
found this tag, and then but I sent it to one company. It was a rescue company.
Right.
And they had it for a while, and they said, well, yeah, we'll make it, but they never did anything. They kept dragging their feet. So I
Right.
says, you know what, release it back to us.
Right.
We really didn't have anything signed,
Right.
so they released it back, and then I happened to find this fall protection company, and then we went from there. So
It's interesting to see how you happen to be in the right place at the right time in order to just
Yeah, it
happen
was.
to glance out and see something, and then that ended up being the
yeah, we were doing an inspection in this one company.
Yeah.
There was just this harness hanging there, and I just took it off there for the heck of it to see what happened, and
Right.
started from there.
That's fascinating. So I wanted to take a few steps back and just maybe understand a little bit the brainchild behind it. So you guys are both, I know you said you were retired, but you were both firemen.
Right.
You're still a fireman.
No,
The
Not
whole
anymore?
we're both retired.
Both retired now.
Yeah, both
Okay.
retired. We worked together for
a long time.
a long time.
Long
on an
time.
engine and on an ambulance together. We worked
Longer
together
than you
for a
want to
while.
admit to, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. We were partners for a long time.
So, individually, I'm sure, the reasons and stories differ depending on who you ask. Jeff, what made you decide to go into this
To become a
profession?
fireman?
Yes.
Nothing.
No.
A bunch of buddies were taking a test, and I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah. And then so, eventually, there was something that clicked.
I passed all the tests, and they called me. Yeah. Perfectly honest. Like, yeah,
Trying to go
sounds
for
like, sounds like a good deal. Best thing I've ever did.
Right.
Loved the job.
Right.
Camaraderie, the teamwork. Reminded me of playing ball.
Right.
So, yeah, it was right up
There's
my
a
alley.
brotherhood there, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
What about Tim? What about you?
We were always intrigued. I remember when I was a kid, the firemen would come around on prairie fires, so we always go out there and try to help them. But as I got older, I was working in construction, and I just happened to be dating this girl in high school, and our next door neighbor was a fireman.
Right.
And he told me, he says, why don't you come and take the test? And I said, well, he said, if you don't like it, he said, don't do it. Because I was doing okay when I was a kid. I was making
Right.
money working. And like you said, it was the best thing I did. I ended up taking the test. And I missed the first time by 4 months because you had to be 21, so I had to wait again. But once I got on there, they called me, and it's history from there. I spent 35 years there, which is the best 35 years of my life, really.
Right.
Even the last few years.
Well, maybe the last few years are a little bit rough, so.
When I've spoken to people in the past that are public servants, right? There's the reasons are different why people want to get into that line of work. But once you're in there, even if you happen to stumble in there, it's pretty compelling that people stay their entire life, right? And they form relationships, and they have all these different experiences.
Yeah. It was a family.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a family, and as I say, everybody had everybody's back, and everybody hung around together all the time. And,
Right.
that was it. That was your life.
Right. No, that's pretty. Again, this is the same sentiment and the same type of story I hear even when I speak with police officers. I've spoken with other, firefighters. They all say the same thing. It's
The best part of the job.
Right, exactly. So,
Question for you.
yes, sir.
Why are cops cops?
Why are cops?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they didn't take the fireman's test.
Oh, there. I've actually heard that.
Because they got in the wrong line.
A bunch of my friends who are police officers, they said I should have became a fireman. Everyone loves the fireman, right?
I don't know about everybody. I don't know about everybody, but yeah, most of them.
Nah, well, all right. We'll get back on track. So let's talk about the belts themselves, right? This is the product, the brainchild that you guys saw as there was a need for. So we have some of the product right here on the table. I was just wondering, maybe you can just talk about each piece. Hold up the piece and talk about it, and let's point out some of the features, and then we can get into some of the other details.
Well, let's start. You want me to show you the old one? We had one for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is our very original, probably one of our original ones. This thing's been around for 20 years, and structural wise, it's still put together.
Yeah. Look at that thing. It looks like it's been through hell and back, right?
Yeah,
He just took it out of service.
Yeah, we just took it out of service. And this was basically just for carrying tools. That's what it was for. There's no bailout rings, there's nothing. It was just something to make it easier.
And it was still being used up until when?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to use it right now, it's still
Oh, yeah, it's still good.
Yeah.
It'll still do what you need to do.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
It was the whole idea was to drop either your axe or Halligan or whatever you're carrying down in the drop-down rings. These are patented drop-down rings.
Right.
So, but the whole thing was to free up your hands. So when you're climbing up a ladder, both hands are free, and you still got all your tools with you. There's a couple slots in the back here that you could put carabiners in, so you can hang more stuff off of it. And you pretty much carry as much equipment as you wanted to, really.
Well, let's step back. Let's focus on that. 20 years.
This is
20
20
something
years.
that was being used for 20 years. It speaks to the longevity of the actual product itself. And if you wanted to, you actually could still use it right now. It's
Yeah,
just,
you could. So that's
yeah.
why that's why we're satisfied with the construction and the manufacturing of our product. We stand behind it. Our manufacturer stands behind it. So, and we know it's safe. That's why we're happy with it. That's why we keep trying to tweak it and make it a little bit better more and more. And between the two of us, we come up with a little more ideas and what people are looking for. And
That's the big part, was the feedback everybody got. Like I said, this what started it, and it was just a way to carry tools. And the type of rigs that were in there wouldn't adapt to everything that was needed. So that's how.
we went to here. You want to use this one? It's easier.
So you're constantly refining
Yes.
and updating.
Not
and
by
doing
us, but by the people that come in and say, I like your product, but can you do this?
Right.
So from the round rigs, went to these 3 HD rigs, which will accept a Halligan very easily, and an axe, so it works out real nice that way. So that was the next step, was bigger rigs.
Right.
As time progressed and things changed, personal escape became popular. And guys wanted stuff that was good for personal escape. So dealt with the manufacturer, and then had them actually make it with a escape ring,
The bailout ring on the front right here.
and had it tested, and became very popular.
We
So
got,
you still had the availability of carrying your tools, which is 90% of the time, 99% of the time. But if by chance, if you ever had the veil, you do have an escape ring on it.
Okay.
So then it became a multi-functional, multi-purpose belt.
Now, is that a feature that you would say is specific to firefighters and the type of situations and scenarios that you would find yourself in, where you would need to have that escape ring?
Yeah.
There's numerous ways you can get out of a building. I mean, you can slide down a hose line,
Right.
but to have everything self-contained and know that you have everything you need if you
Right.
have to bail.
Right.
If you got this in a rope bag and a carabiner, you're good.
Okay.
And what's
So
nice,
you make yourself completely self-sufficient.
and what's nice too is we got this 4-inch padding on here, so which makes it a little bit more comfortable. So the strap itself is just not digging into you. So if you are hanging off this thing, you just don't have the webbing digging into your back.
Okay.
So we got this padding on here, which kind of makes it a little bit more comfortable.
So so someone that, are they wearing that over a coat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and if they would still even feel that if this was, with another belt, they would feel that webbing.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You will.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna, if you're hanging off or it's digging in you,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel it.
You're
So
gonna
this
feel it.
makes it a little bit more comfortable if you had to be hanging off this for some
Right.
reason.
And again, I think that's one of those features, right? That if someone who doesn't have that experience, someone that on-the-job experience, they would probably never know that. They'd be like, well, what's the difference, right? But for you guys,
It's just like when you go to the gym and you work out.
right,
You see guys pulling belts tight.
right.
You can't say back support, but it provides pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So you're using this for escape or whatever. You wear it comfortable, whatever works for you. But then when you got to pick up 1,000 feet of 5-inch hose, it certainly don't hurt to snug it up and have yourself a little bit of
Yeah,
pressure there.
right.
And it's all backed with reflective material. So anybody hits you with a light in a smoke condition can see it very easily.
Okay, so let's talk about how these stack up against some of your competitors. First of all, what's the competition like? Is it saturated? Are there a handful of folks out there? And then,
I think
I
I
think
could answer that pretty well.
All right.
But we don't care.
okay.
This is something we came up with as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't putting food on our table.
Right,
This isn't putting a roof over our house.
right,
It was an idea. It grew. It worked for us. People liked it.
right.
We're both retired, but we continue with it because we get a great opportunity to meet a lot of great people,
Right.
and we just kind of enjoy the ability to get out there and used to teach us stuff. Used to jump out of buildings. Used to do a little old for that, but it was a great time. So
What are you talking about? You look. You can't be. What? You're 30, maybe?
yeah, I'm 36.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay, so.
But
And I'm 35.
are we comparing ourselves to anybody? Absolutely not. I drive a Ford, he drives a Chevy, you drive a Dodge. Everybody's got their own taste. We think our product covers a great array of different scenarios.
Right.
Try to keep it simple.
Right.
Very,
And
very.
it's easy to work with. It's easy to figure out. There are a lot of competitors out there,
Mhm.
like you say, and like Jeff says, we don't. We're not trying to compete against everybody else. We come up with an idea, and we've been running with it, for 20 years. All the changes and things that we've done over the years from this belt here came from other firemen. We got different colors now, and the different colors are because of sizes. We used to have one color at one time, so then you had to look at the label and see what size it was.
Right.
It says, well, it'd be great if you could come up with different colors for
And that
different
came
sizes.
back from a lot of the paid on call or volunteer departments. And they'd buy 5 or 6 belts and, excuse me, and they'd put them in a compartment or they'd hang them, and guys would go to grab and have to read all the tags. So now the belts are color coordinated, so if you wear a blue one, it's a medium, a yellow's a large, red is extra. Very simple.
Right.
And that's stuff that people that were out there using the product brought back to us.
Yeah, so you mentioned simplicity. I would imagine that simplicity is something that, not having to think about something in the moment, right? When you're trying to focus on what you need to do,
Right.
whether to save someone else's life or your own, that you just want to, it should just be second nature. So you already know
Repetition.
what you had, repetition. Right.
And just everything progressed. They asked, could we make harnesses? Here's just to back up a little bit, because we have ladder belts with an 18-inch lanyard. And the lanyard is what you just would hook onto the ladder itself to secure yourself, if I can get it loose, to secure yourself to a ladder, and then now you don't have to worry about falling.
Right.
Okay, it's a positioning device that you can hook on a bucket if you're up on an aerial somewhere or whatever. The snorkel ladder, clip it in, and you're good to go. This way you know you're not gonna go anywhere. Then they said, well, what about leg straps? Can you put leg straps on it? Then we end up progressing into a harness. So then we made a harness with leg straps, but what we did was we tried to make it easier where you can disconnect them. Instead of trying to step into a loop, all you gotta do is bring it in through your leg and then clip it in. And you're ready to go. So instead of making it more difficult, we tried to make it more simple. And it's just when we progressed to that, then we went to a ladder belt. And then a ladder belt harness.
This is us, we're small enough. And our manufacturer's been absolutely wonderful. So we run an idea by them, and it doesn't take them long to figure it out. And they'll send us a couple prototypes of what do you think, and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And often run it with something new.
Right.
You know, it's not a lot of red tape, not a lot of bureaucracy.
Right.
It's us and the people that make it for us. And
We're a small company. I run this thing out of my house,
Right.
and that's it. I mean, it's just we come up with some ideas, and then all the other ideas have just come up from other firemen saying, "Hey, what about this? We like your product. You know, can you do this?" You know,
Right.
so we make changes. You know, we went to a personal escape, just personal escape harness. It's just nothing but a strap itself and a bailout ring on it, and 2 leg straps. You can take them off and put them in your pocket of your pants. When you need them, you strap them in. It's we try to keep the whole concept simple.
Yeah, and I think
And
that's the one thing that keeps on coming up here is not only the simplicity, but you guys are mentioning that, you know, as you're in making improvements onto the product. I mean, these ideas aren't being generated by some corporate board. These are ideas that are actually being given to you sometimes from people who are actually on the job using the belt.
absolutely.
Right? There's context there, right? These are folks that they're in there. They're in the middle of these things, and they're saying, "Hey, you know what would be great? Can we do this? You know, this would make this even better." And you guys are taking those ideas in, and then actually trying them out, and probably a lot of those get incorporated then.
Oh yeah, pretty much all of them all
Well,
the time.
if
yeah.
you don't listen, you're a fool.
Right.
You know, you got 10, 15 people pointing out the same type of thing.
Right.
They might have something there.
Exactly. No, I agree, and I think that's great that, you know, the innovation is coming directly from the people that are actually using these
Right.
products.
And we don't advertise. We advertise in the beginning, but it's too expensive. Like I say, we're too small to try to be advertising in these magazines and stuff. So everything's word of mouth.
Right.
And pretty much we probably got these things all over the United States now.
We gonna do the Super Bowl this year?
Do the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I guess not.
I guess not. I don't know what he's talking about. So.
Advertise.
Oh, advertising this? Well, yeah, okay. It's only about a couple $1 million for
Yeah.
15
But it's
seconds or
nothing for
whatever.
you. You
Yeah.
guys can handle that, right?
But
Okay.
yeah. No,
So-
and then we stayed small, and it's just like I say, we're just kind of running with this thing, and
I think that quality control, that your ability to keep that quality is probably greatly impacted by you guys being a smaller outfit and being able to oversee everything that's coming through.
right.
It's very personal.
Right.
And our manufacturer is a family-run manufacturer, and they're small, and they pride in what they make, and so that's why I say we're not putting anything that's not safe out there. We stand behind it, they stand behind it, and
Right.
you know what? That's just how it's going. You know,
Right.
it's,
So let me ask you one thing, and as far as you know, we've talked a lot about how you came up with the belts, and how you're able to stay on top of any of the newer features that people might want to see on here. But when we're talking about how much load they can handle, the stress testing and things like that. Are there any industry standards or certifications or things of that nature that
Right, to
these
cover
belts-
these, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, we were NFPA certified. We had it tested, it went through all the strength requirements, and we still meet and exceed NFPA requirements for strength. Now, to stay compliant, I can't say that we are, just for the simple reason of labeling, which they change constantly on and off. And labeling, I could care less if there's a label on the thing or not. And I don't think, I mean, if you're bailing out somewhere, you know, and you need something that's strength, it's going to hold you, and we're going to stand behind it.
Right.
And the other part is third-party testing.
Right.
We don't, like I say, we're a small company, and it gets too expensive. And every time NFPA comes up with a change, then you got to change everything, or you got to make your, you know, start testing everything again. So our manufacturer is an ANSI-approved testing agency.
Right.
In the past, they have tested it in the very beginning to see that we can meet the requirements for the strength,
Right.
and that's what we stand behind. I would rather worry about the strength requirements than anything else.
Yeah,
myself.
I was going to say, I think that's probably what anyone who straps one of these things on is really concerned about. Is this thing, can this thing hold me?
Oh, it'll hold.
Right.
It'll hold.
Right. And so that's where it counts.
Well, you say, look at this thing here for 20 years. You could still probably hang off that, and I don't see why it would come apart. You know?
I think that's.
And it's been in a lot of fires. I know that because I know the individual that wore it. So
Yeah, that thing looks like it's been to hell and back, and it's, I mean, it looks pretty sound to me, you know. So that's, I think that says a lot about.
It holds up.
Yeah.
It holds up. I don't know how many rappels I had on my belt, and it was numerous times.
but no, we stand behind it. I mean, it's a sound piece of equipment. I mean, it's of course it's nylon, but it's like anything else. You inspect it and you keep an eye on it. And if you're in a fire where it's flame contact on it, of course, I mean, you're gonna have to take it out of service, you know.
Right.
But from what I've seen from over the years, in heated situations and things like that, I mean, it holds up.
Yeah, I mean, those same standards would apply to any other safety belt, right? I mean,
Right.
there's no
Oh,
silver
yeah.
bullet. As long if like you said, if it comes in contact with fire directly, you're going to have to put it out of commission.
The biggest thing is, though, I would think, as a user, you want something you feel good in, you feel comfortable in, but God knows you got to practice with it because you're not going to figure it out just because you have a belt on. You got to practice with it. And practice with ours, and practice with other ones, and practice with all of them. Till you find something that makes you comfortable, where you know you'll be safe if you got to get out. I don't care who's you buy it, but make sure you got something.
And I found out you're not going to please everybody.
Right.
You know? And like you say, but it's, you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, somebody doesn't like it, that's their prerogative. I mean,
Right.
it's like you say, everybody's got their own ideas on what they're looking for. And
Right.
some people, a lot of people like it. Like I say, we've sold all over the United States and in China and things like that. And
Right.
it's just it's something that's been just kind of going along for the last 20 years. You know. And
If someone were to come up to you and say, why would I use a Pacmule belt? What if you had to tell them within 5 seconds or 10 seconds, right? This is
I can tell them in 2 words.
okay.
Try it. You're not dealing with a car or a TV. You're dealing with your own safety.
Right.
So try a bunch of different stuff and find out what you like.
Right.
the whole
Try it.
the whole concept was to free up your hands on the fire scene.
Right.
You're notorious. If you see anything on TV, and if anybody's walking around, they got something in their hand.
Right.
And the whole thing was to try to free up your hands. So that's why we had the drop down rings. You put that axe in, you put that Halligan in there. If you want, you can end up putting a couple carabiners in the back and strap more stuff on there. You know?
Right.
And the name came from one guy. One day, one of our firefighters on the job. He'd come off the rig and he says, I had to carry so much equipment. He says, I feel like a pack mule.
I think I got my old one back here
And I
with
said,
the
imagine
bag.
that. And that's where the name pack mule came from. It was another fireman. So I had to carry so much stuff on the job. He didn't say stuff, but you know, it's just.
So you felt like a pack mule.
He says, I felt like a pack mule. So that's where the name pack mule came from. And and it's been going ever since. You know, it's like I say, it's just an idea that we had to try to make it safer for guys on the fire scene. You know, are we making millions of dollars? No, we're not. It's just an idea that we had, and we're trying to help people out, and it's been going. It's been successful, and we just listen to what other people have to say, and we tweak them to what the other firemen had to say. You know, can you do this? Can you do that?
Hey, so
Here comes
you
Jeff's-
missed it. He was saying that he really came up with the idea while you were out there.
Well, he lies.
I came up with the name. Well, yeah, we came up. Well, I ain't gonna say who came up with the name because I ain't giving him any credit for it.
No.
So. But that's
This
how
was
we,
my original one. With my skate bag. With a carabiner and a little bitty 8 descender in it.
Right.
And I used this one for 15 years. I changed over. This is an old retired one.
Right.
But that's like I say, it's a good product. I mean, not just because it's ours. And
Opportunity to dress it up and do whatever you want with it. You know, there's options to what you want to do.
Take a seat. We want to see your pretty
yeah,
face.
we want to see your pretty face. We got two different type of buckling systems. One buckles like a belt, you know, with the grommets, and the other one we call it's a quick release, which is this one here on the harness we have. Oops, I don't want to scratch up your toes and making you nervous. Right. And it just clips in, and it's on a friction type buckle. You snap it in, and this is our most mine went black. Yeah, popular. That's it. Yeah, most popular one. This one here.
Right.
You clip in, you pull the friction type buckle, and if you know what, you can tie it off. And once you get it set to where you want it, you're good to go.
Right.
I use this one. Jeff used this type here with the grommet style, which because around here in Chicago, as it got colder, you start putting on more
Right.
clothes and stuff like that, so you can adjust it just where you
Yeah.
wanted to put it at and tighten it up. So.
And again, I think for anyone who maybe wasn't paying attention for that 1 second, these guys use their own product.
Oh,
They
God,
put the money where their mouth is. So they just didn't manufacture this thing and just throw it out
Oh no.
to the.
That would
They,
be pretty,
they actually
that
use
would
it
be pretty
themselves.
weak, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. No, but I think that's an important detail. You guys created something, and you guys are using it. You guys used it your entire careers. I think that says a lot. That you were willing to put, you guys put your lives on the line, and you did it with something that. Not only did you use your own product, I mean, I think that's
And all the people we know.
right. Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
it's,
that's
Those are our friends. All our friends use this
yeah,
too.
that's
So
a,
you know,
that's a heavy,
we were.
that's
Yeah.
a heavy burden, right? I mean, that's so to know that, and so
Like I say, this one here's been in 20 years, and he's a very, very good friend of both of ours. So
Right.
it's like, and he used it for 20 years. So
Right.
we're not going to just hand these out if we
No,
need
I
anything
think
for it.
that's amazing, but I think that's something that anyone who's watching, I think, should really take note of. How many people are willing to stand not only willing to stand behind our product, but they actually use their product themselves. So I think that's amazing to hear that these days, because you don't.
Have we ever had anything come back that we didn't take care of or stand behind?
No,
Never.
no.
Yeah.
If somebody has an issue with a belt, if they order the wrong size, I usually take it back and send them out the right size. So I mean, we're not here to screw anybody around. If you purchase something and it doesn't work out right, or you order the wrong one, we'll take care of it. Like I say, we're a family-owned business, and
Right.
we're just a couple of retired firemen that run this thing. Dave is still our partner. He's still on the job, but I don't know.
Maybe.
I talked to him today. He may not be anymore. So, but it's just, it's something that he came up with, and then we just been running with it. We didn't even know how to market it. We had to go to a company that says, well, here, this is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And where do we go from there? We didn't have a clue.
Oh, to get a patent and
Yeah.
everything
Well,
else
yeah.
was.
You know what? But you guys, you had an idea. You took the initiative, and you're never going to have all the ducks in a row, right? The best way to get into business is to get into business, right? So I think this is another example of the American dream, right?
It was a learning process right from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because, like I said, we didn't have a clue.
So let me ask you something now that we've had a chance to see the belts and understand what makes them different. Where do you see in the next 5 to 10 years? What would you like to see for Pacmule belts?
Just yeah,
Really?
just-
We really?
I
It is
don't
what
know.
it is.
I haven't thought that far.
No, we got no giant
It's
plan.
I'll go home and see if I got any more
We're not talking about launching
purchase
globally.
orders. Yeah, purchase
or-
orders there, and
no.
we go from
It is
there.
what it is.
Right.
We take on more distributors. We have more. We have a lot of distributors out there that
Right.
purchase from us, and they resell it. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't even thought about what the next 5 years brings. It's just something that we just keep messing around with.
Just keep on
Everything.
cranking out a quality product.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
whatever happens, happens. I guess it's just
It is what it is.
Right.
yeah, we don't.
We don't sweat it.
So, so finally, I wanna wrap up. But I mean, if people want to find you, people can go to www.pacmulebelts.com.
Yep.
They can also
There's phone numbers on there. Call.
right. They can what's the phone number?
Now you got me here.
Okay.
708-598-7170.
Okay, and then if
And I
they-
probably won't answer because it goes on answer machine because I do work another job. So
yeah. Well,
and,
you will get back to someone.
I will get back to you.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
Yes.
I always
He
get back to you.
does. I got to give him credit.
Or send an email. There's a link on there on our webpage that you can send an email to, and I'll
Or the
follow up
various
on there.
distributors.
And you guys
Or
are also
it's
on
just
social
contact-
media as well. You guys at Pacmule Belts on Facebook, so people can also go and they can take a look at they can see all the different photos and they can see all the specs on the website and they'll-
That's our IT guy. He takes care of all that for
Oh,
us.
yeah, I heard that he's just very lazy. So
I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. He keeps charging me all the time, though. So.
yeah. Well, hey man, those are going through at least, right?
Yeah.
So
So
well,
let's ask the IT guy. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
building empire. There you go.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well,
see?
So are we.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, well then, Jeff and Tim, I think, I started this wanting to go, having a blueprint of what it is that I was hoping to get out of this, but I think that what we got out of this was this much more personable, and trying to understand, where the belts came from and why you guys do this. I think I learned a lot from it. So thanks for taking the time and sitting down and explaining this. I think that whoever gets a chance to see this, I think that this should be able to, if they're really looking for a belt and they really want to choose a company, I think that if they see this, they'll understand that if they go with Pacmule belts, that they're getting something that was actually made and used by guys that were working on the job, that put their money where their mouth was, and they actually did it. This is so. I think that speaks volumes. And if I'm going to be using a product that's going to be saving my life, I would definitely want to go with something like this, especially after listening to both your stories.
Oh.
So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And cut tape.
Well, see, this was perfect.